Yep.
Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of Open Waters, a podcast for maritime students, grads, and professionals to help them navigate the industry. We'll be talking to our peers and industry leaders alike, breaking down what they do and how they got there.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. That's our plan here is to really just start a community for people, recent grads, not only just from the maritime academies, but from colleges all over, young professionals that are looking to get into the maritime, the freight industry, and other stakeholders in our industry. And we're really just trying to open discussion and talk to people, bring recent graduates in to talk about their experiences growing in the industry, also bringing in people who have been in our shoes and have worked their way up to executive level positions. Bring them in, talk to them, and really just kind of expand on our industry and provide insights to people who maybe want to be getting into our industry or might be serving in a different capacity in our industry and want to know more. So yeah, that's the main goal here, we're going to try to shoot a lot of these. We already have some people who are volunteering to speak on this podcast and join us as a guest. So I think the best part to do here now would be to start introducing ourselves and talking a little bit more about our experiences, and then kind of talk about after maritime, maybe what do we do as a profession now, and yeah, let's talk about that. So Matt, do you want to take it away again?
Yeah, so it's going to consist of the five of us here as hosts, myself, Matt McKean, Connor Helm, who you've heard from. Um, we all went to Mass Maritime, graduated with degrees in international maritime business. I graduated in 2017. During my time there, I did an internship with a dry bulk carrier in Manhattan. Um, Studied abroad in China at Shanghai Maritime. At that same school, once I graduated Mass Maritime, went over there for 2 years and got a master's of economics in international trade. When I was over there, I was able to do an internship with the U.S. Commercial Service. It's part of the Department of Commerce, helping facilitate Chinese and U.S. trade. That was a real great experience, and wrote a thesis paper, all that good stuff. After graduating in China, was able to get a job with a container line here in Norfolk, Virginia. It was actually Colin Sheehan, fellow co-host here, who told me about the posting, and we were both fortunate enough to get the position. It was dubbed the Fast Track Program, 18-month rotational training program. We sat with all different departments in our company. Those 18 months are wrapping up now, come the new year. And at that point, I'll transition into the cargo claims department under the legal department in our company. So it's been a pretty good run since maritime. Colin, you want to take it from here?
Yes, thanks, Matt. Hi, everyone. My name's Colin. I graduated from Mass Maritime in 2019, studied international maritime business. During my time there, I undertook 3 internships. My first one was in ship operations with a self-unloading bulk carrier um, in a around the St. Lawrence Seaway area and also along the coast of North America. Second internship, I was a ship agent. Third internship, I worked for a P&I club where I was a claims executive intern. Saw a whole bunch of action from a fire on board a container ship. General Average was involved. Uh, got a lot of good exposure to that side. And that's what Matt's kind of doing now. Um, Also, during my time there, I did an experiential learning trip in Singapore where Brendan Gilderson, he's on this podcast, he was with me. Uh, and also spent a semester abroad in Shanghai, China. And after the 18 months is up in the program that Matt was mentioning, I'll be going to the strategic sourcing department in the marine side of things to handle rate and contract negotiations with over 200 marine suppliers and vendors in North America.
Yeah, so actually, while I was in China getting my master's degree, is when Colin and Brendan here were able to do their study abroad with SMU. Brendan, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, of course. I think some of the biggest things that really sparked my interest in the maritime industry were the Singapore exchange for those 3 weeks and then the exchange in Shanghai. And those really opened my eyes to how large the industry really is and how we're so intertwined with many different countries. And then following that, I was able to do 2 internships. One, I worked for a small private container company. And the second one was with a terminal that worked on distributing offshore wind turbines. Following that, I graduated and I moved to Singapore, where I worked as an analyst for a maritime software company. And I really enjoyed working in Singapore because it's such a large and massive shipping hub where you can just walk along the streets and run into other people in our industry. And I'm hoping to bring on some of the people that I became friends with professionally over there on the podcast in the near future. And then after that, I actually just moved back to the US a few months ago, and now I'm working for a ship owner, working on the commercial side as a chemical vessel operator. Could you go on next, Connor, please?
Yeah. So hello, everyone. My name is Connor Helm. I graduated from Mass Maritime with pretty much everyone on this call. An international maritime business major, was also involved with the International Propeller Club of the United States. It's one of the student ports at Massachusetts Maritime Academy, and I served as the vice president there, which kind of comes into play in later in my career, which we'll talk about. So at Mass Maritime, I had 2 internships. One of my internships was with a bulk carrier out of the Great Lakes, U.S. flagged fleet, about 10, I would say 11, 12 ships. And they did a lot of like coal, iron ore stuff like that, to and from U.S., Canada. And then also from there, I had another internship with a container terminal in Philadelphia. And that was more like a boots on the ground internship experience, doing terminal safety, vessel safety, stevedoring, really getting to know the nuts and bolts of the container industry, which again plays a role in my later career. And then from there, right from graduation, I started at a marine construction company up in northern New Jersey, like 30, 40 minutes away from New York City. It was there that I was on the tug department. So I was really doing a lot of facilitation and like dispatch work to and from job sites with our tugs. I think we had about around 10 tug vessels as well that were deployed usually on the East Coast, also in the Gulf Coast as well. So I was there for about 9 months before I decided to do a career change pretty early in my career, which was scary, and we can talk about that on a future podcast. But also great experience. So I ended up working for a freight forwarder. It's here that I've been here for about 1.5 years. Been growing tremendously as a person and also professionally. I'm already on my 3rd job title since I started, and I'm soon to be on my 4th with starting as a trade lane management specialist on the Indian subcontinent trade lane. So pretty much handling everything and all things going to and from the United States to the Indian subcontinent, which is going to be a completely different experience than what I've done in the past, but also a very awesome experience that I'm excited for. That's coming in January, so more to talk about there. And then also in professional networking, I'm a board member of the International Propeller Club. That was something that kind of not fell into my lap. I really did feel like I deserved it, but I was going to a lot of the Propeller Club events as a young maritime professional. I was kind of the young person in the room. So the president at the time ended up calling me, requesting that, saying I'm appointing you as the board member, the youngest board member ever, if you would accept. And of course, I accepted, and that's a role that I still have today and for a little bit now, but kind of just promoting the maritime industry, the same thing that we're doing in this podcast, and kind of the whole point here to really just bring people together in the maritime industry, young minds, and talk about what's going on and our experiences. So Mark, take it away. Tell us about everything and all things the cruise industry.
Thank you, Connor. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Wiggins, and I'm sort of the odd man out in this group. I took a different turn after graduation. Like everyone else, I majored in international maritime business. Brendan, Colin, and I have known each other since day 1 of orientation, and all of us have been through the program all 4 years of maritime. My junior year at school, I did 2 internships in the winter of 2018. That was with a flag convenience in Virginia, basically circling around in marine operations for the flag of convenience. I did that for 2 months. I went back, did another semester this summer, 2018. After my junior year, I did another internship with Royal Caribbean Cruises at the time. That was with Fleet and Port Security. And at the end of that internship, basically got a light offer to return. So I went back, did 1 semester at Maritime, one senior semester, finished early, and then went to work full-time as an analyst for Royal Caribbean in January of 2019. So now that we've all introduced ourselves, I know we'd like to talk some more about what we want this podcast to become, and also some topics specifically for this opening podcast. So maybe Connor, if you'd like to speak more on both of those items.
Yeah. I mean, kind of open discussion, right? The point of this podcast is to bring recent grads, current students. I think that was a discussion that we had. Current students to join us and just kind of talk about their experiences. It's a different world than where we were coming up, and Maritime graduated in 19 and 18, right? We were in school. I just talked to a teacher that we all had, Captain Mike. I talked to his class the other day, and it was bizarre. Like, everyone was online, and Captain Mike was like, you have to imagine being in their shoes. Like, you're in your parents' bedroom and you're taking an accounting 1 class. Like it's not fun. Like that's and Maritime, wasn't the funnest school anyway. So it's a weird situation they're in, because they are, to be honest, they're struggling for internships because companies aren't hiring. They really, they can't be in person because people aren't in person. There's, no offices. I've been out of the office since early March of last year. So things have changed in our industry for the young people who are going to be joining. And I think that's why it's so important that something like this is brought to the public and to our community, which is the Maritime community, and then just kind of give everyone a voice. I think that's a kind of the main idea of this podcast. And yeah, I mean, would anyone else like to speak on,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, when I started up freshman year, going to my first business and shipping class, started to really love it, the whole industry, especially when I went to my experiential learning trip in Singapore. And what I noticed was there's really no outlets really whatsoever for anyone our age going through school to learn about stuff, or at least get someone's perspective that's recently graduated. So we were stuck listening to ship finance forums on YouTube when they get posted 6 months later, just to learn more. So to have some sort of outlet for people kind of close to our age to learn about stuff, or at least help you choose your career path, would be really helpful. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I was a sophomore, junior, I was pretty much set on going one way in the industry. Whereas now I graduated, I didn't even think I'd work for a container line. I was thinking I was going to work for a tanker shipping company or be a shipbroker like everyone wants to be when they're freshman, sophomore, junior at school. So
I have to admit that when I applied for the internship at Royal, I had no interest at the time in the cruise industry. I had no interest in coming to Florida and knew nothing about it, didn't know anyone in it. Basically took the opportunity because there's an opportunity to interview, and interviewed well and got it. And I couldn't picture leaving it at this point, which I never would have expected not that long ago, 2 years ago. Like you said, I was in the same boat. Everyone wants to be a shipbroker. Everyone wants to go into, the highfalutin parts of the industry. And there's a lot that doesn't get talked about, especially when we're in school, or even when we go to Propeller Club events. Connor and I went to Matt too. We all 3 of us went to Propeller Club events quite a bit. Brendan, yeah, you went to Propeller Club events.
Yeah, we got to have breakfast with the governor of Massachusetts.
You did, Charlie Baker. Yep.
Yeah.
Not
What an
bad.
experience. No, I mean, we can all speak on that. I think we all ended up in different places than we thought, and I think that's a part of like the whole college experience, and a part of is like how it shakes out. I know that. I mean, our school is in New England. Out of staters are rare, and just out of region. There's really like I'm from New Jersey, and there's probably like 20 people in New Jersey that went to Mass Maritime. But we all ended up in different places, which is interesting. Like I'm in freight forwarding. I remember going on a tour to one of those freight forwarders in one of our senior classes. I don't even remember what class that was, but I remember we were touring a classic freight forwarder, like the quintessential, have their small book of business, and that's pretty much it. And just everyone was just like, they make how much? Like, I'm not interested in that. Like, I'm not into like, and so it's crazy that I'm like full circle. I'm in a freight forwarder, and I'm like super happy. And this is like I couldn't see myself doing anything else either. And yeah, it's just like totally different experience than what I would have expected. But that's what this is about, right? Talking about experiences, talking kind of just it's people who are freshmen. We can start taking their mind off of becoming a shipbroker, maybe and exploring some other paths in early stages.
Yeah, our degree in our industry, it's seen as very niche and very specific. But like we're saying, there's really a million ways you could take it, a million different places you can go with it.
Yeah.
So we're kind of here to just speak on that.
And another idea for this podcast, I mean, we're just starting this out. This is our first episode. So maybe have only a few hosts at a time, rotate them through. Everyone here has busy lives, but also get people from the other majors to come on here and speak. The marine engineers, the deckies, the emergency management, marine safety, all those people. It'd be really cool to see different perspectives from similar but very different paths.
Yeah.
And each of us knows alumni within our own organizations. And, some of you, Brendan and Connor, are lucky enough to have been in multiple organizations since graduation. So you've had that opportunity to see what it's like in different areas and to grow your network even more. Versus myself, Matt, and Sheen, we've been in the same organization since graduation. And there are pros to that too. Like I know all the Mass Maritime alumni at Royal, including the ones on board. Like we all know each other at this point. And I'm sure the rest of you all know the other Maritimers in your organization quick and become close very quick.
Yeah, not even just Mass, but it extends to, SUNY Maritime, Cal Maritime, any of those schools. It's still a connection, still a similar experience.
Yeah, my senior manager is a SUNY Maritime guy. Shout out to Tom.
Yeah, it's interesting because the last company I worked for, totally like traditional maritime, a couple SUNY guys, a couple Maine guys, and a few Mass as well. But in the company I'm working now, couldn't be totally opposite. I think there's like 3 maritime grads that work there. It's a startup. It's like a young company, so they're really like hiring people outside of our industry because they're trying to like disrupt the current industry and change the way it works. So that's like another element to this podcast as well, is that we're going to try to include other people who aren't in these maritime academies that are still trying to get into our industry, because that at the end of the day, they're sitting next to us and they're doing the same job we are, no matter what your education was. So that's kind of the whole point. I know other schools have related programs. Maybe they didn't wear the uniform, but they're still really interested in the industry, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So I don't know, does anyone else have anything to add? I kind of wanted to get to the topic of discussion today, and really the reason why we decided to kind of rush to put this podcast together. To be honest, we've had this idea of Open Waters podcast for quite some time, and due to our busy lives and just crazy schedules, that we haven't been able to put it together. I think when did we publish this name, or like get this name, Mark? Like
been weeks, months.
Yeah, I think I drew up the idea for you guys, like, I don't know, maybe July or maybe just before that, and you guys are still on board with it. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of why we started this. Like the reason why we're jumping into this right now is because there was a recent a recent event in our industry, particularly the container industry, that could shake out to be one of the worst container catastrophes besides loss of life or loss of vessel or environmental issues, which may arise from this as well. We're unsure at this moment, but yeah, the ONE Apus. I was on Twitter because I'm a stakeholder in my current industry as a freight forwarder. I'm a stakeholder in all things container industry. I keep an eye out for everything. So I was on ONE's website. Public knowledge, was looking at it, saw there was an alert there for the ONE Apus. I went on Twitter, looked it up, found a very recently published photo, which looked like a crew member had taken it because it was on the vessels and just off the coast of Hawaii, I believe like 1,600 nautical miles. So it had to be the crew member, right? So someone took a picture of it. This vessel, 14,000 TEU vessel, had significant container loss. Initial reports were 1,900 containers were lost, and an unknown amount of them were dangerous goods. So I instantly, I just had made this professional Twitter is what I'm calling it, is because I'm trying to open my avenues besides LinkedIn, right? Try to find a different community for people to come together as a maritime industry. You have like FinTwit, which is like financial Twitter, and then hopefully we can make like MarTwit, which is maritime Twitter or something like that of that nature. And there's a lot of people there who are like-minded and they come together. So I was looking up a picture, I made this professional Twitter, I tweeted it, it blew up. I think I'm anywhere near like 500,000 views on this tweet. It's been shared, it's been quote tweeted, and it kind of blew up. And we're going to take that opportunity to really push this podcast, because I think having as many eyes as we can and kind of growing this was kind of the main objective. But back on to this Apus incident, this could be one of the worst container incidents ever recorded. Now the count is around 1,800 TUs. I believe 54 of them being dangerous goods. They had like fireworks, ethanol, and this is 1,600 nautical miles off of Hawaii. Bear in mind, the Hawaii Coast Guard has no reports. They haven't seen any of these containers just yet. So that's still up in the air. And the Apus is on the way back to Kobe, Japan, which is their flag state as well. And they are going to go and undergo full inspection once they get to Kobe, Japan. That's going to take quite some time. No, I don't think anyone really knows how long it's going to take. There's never been an incident this bad. They're going to have to call it out. What's that?
I was going to add, when I was at the P&I Club doing my internship, we were involved in the Yantian Express ship fire. And it was just so crazy to see what goes into it, and calling the fire experts and just being there to get a game plan going on and what's involved, and towing across the ocean to get back to a safe harbor, and get surveys on the ground there.
Do you remember how many TUs that was? How many boxes?
Not nearly as large as the Apus.
Yeah, 1,900's a lot.
1,900's a lot.
Behind ship fires, containers overboard, probably, I don't know, two largest factors, safety factors at sea for those.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting tons of quote tweets about there's like a sailing competition. I totally don't know the name, which I'm sorry for any sailors out there, but they go all around the world, and apparently one of the sailors had hit a container. This was prior to the Apus incident, but this was like a week ago or so, and apparently hit an underwater object, which they're identifying as a container, which is crazy. Which kind of brings me to my next point, which is a part of one of these articles I was reading about the Apus, that the World Shipping Council was saying that 12-year average for container loss is almost 1,400 containers a year for incidents that are 50 containers or less lost at one time. So that's kind of a lot of containers. They're just floating. I mean, that's a lot of containers, but the Apus is more than the average per year in one incident. So it's crazy. There's going to be significant delays. I can't even like speculate on what's going to happen because it's never happened before. There's still tons of containers, actually in the bays of the ship. So like, in the holds of the ship. So what's going to happen to those? I have no idea. General average, no idea. I'm really just not like, we're none of us here really have that much experience to really put our opinions in. But we are following the story, and I think it's an interesting story to follow. If you're a stakeholder in the industry, if you're not a stakeholder in the industry, I think it's going to change the way the container shipping safety standards are, for sure. I think it's definitely going to change. I saw one of the
Especially
comments. One of the comments was talking about, have you ever seen ACL's ships before? Do you know what they look like? The Conros.
like Conros, yeah.
Yeah, but they have cell guides the entire way up. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the way they look like. So there's because the bottom is obviously a row, right? So you just drive your cargo on, but the top is cell guides as if it was in the hold, but on the top of the ship. So maybe.
We'll check that out. Yeah, especially with this big push for sustainability and um, you know, and environmental protection. These container incidents going overboard, it's huge problem with the industry, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the way that the lashing like that. So that my first thing was lashings. I saw that lashings. That's a common problem in the industry. It's not something that we're bringing up for the first time. I think it's been brought up plenty of times in safety meetings. When I was working at the terminal and doing container ops, that was like always known as the most dangerous part of the container unloading and loading process. Also, some of the most overlooked parts because container industry, I think, what are they? 3 or 4 tiers up are lashed. It typically 3 to 4, depending on how big the container ship is. Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible incident. No one knows what's going to happen, so we're not going to speculate here. We're not going to sit here and say it was the lashings. But we do know what we do know is that it had terrible weather. I think it was something 12 meters, 6 meters, 7 to 8. Sorry, I'm all over the place. 6 to 7 meters, I believe, was what the weather was, the waves were in the Pacific at that time. So interesting story. How it shakes out, I'm not entirely sure. But we'll see.
Yeah, I wish I had a little bit marine ops experience to throw some 2 cents in there, but
What do you
we'll
mean,
see.
like on the terminal? I mean, the terminal experience I
Well,
had.
like I mean, just like ship ops, container ops, just being on board the vessel.
Yeah, yeah, that's one
I'm
thing.
not really too familiar with that stuff.
Yeah, I wish we all
It's,
could benefit from that, have some of that experience.
it's a unique part of our degree, that we didn't get, none of us have spent serious time on board. But I do believe that in a lot of ways that, those two forces work together. Like on our own team at Royal, between the 7 of us, 2 of us have never been on board, right? We're college graduates out of the U.S. And that's why we're here. It's because, you have that diversification of background and, what your strengths are. And that's something that, the 5 of us are going to have throughout our career, right? It's something that we actually market, right? It's like, yeah, you're right. I don't have time on board, but here are my strengths. Here's what I have been doing for a long time. That will be a theme throughout every company that we work for. There's always going to be people within the company who are equal or higher than you within position who got all their experience on board. And that's something that is unique to our major.
Actually, my freshman year, I want to say the winter of 14 was like the last real sea term. So I got to spend the semester at sea aboard the training vessel, the TS Kennedy. And that's helped me, immensely. I think just having that perspective, doing deck watch, doing engine watch, maintenance, just being aboard the vessel for that amount of time, in and out of ports. It is a very beneficial experience. And yeah, I think I was the last year they just kept accepting more and more students. That the way it was set up before is your first semester freshman year, everybody takes the same classes, everybody, the whole freshman class gets on the ship, and before you get off, you declare your major. And now they have it so, like you guys know, you declare your major before, and that decides who gets on the ship that winter and the following years. Yeah, I think it's real unfortunate that they don't have that experience for everyone anymore.
Agreed.
It's definitely a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, we went to other countries, right? That's pretty much, that was our substitute. I went to South Africa. Everyone else pretty much went to Singapore, right? Mark, where did you go?
Norway.
Norway. Yeah. So
Norway,
we
3
had
weeks.
international experiences, but then Matt went to his master's program in where were you at? Shanghai, right? Shanghai Maritime. Yeah. So yeah, crazy different experiences across the board. Three of us are in the container industry, but still, like, across us three, different experiences. So yeah, it's interesting, and I think that's what we're going to bring to this table, with the whole podcast, kind of like to wrap things up, and to finish out here. And
Yeah.
I think that's our goal: bring everyone together, talk about maritime related issues, talk about how we grew in the industry, how we're growing in the industry, and yeah, really just bring people to speak, because I don't know, the U.S. maritimes, like, little cluster I feel like is a lot less communicative, and like less of a community than it is in other countries. I don't know, Brandon, you could probably speak to that for days. I think that you had tons of great people that you met, in other foreign countries, and also, yeah, try to bring that community here and see where it goes. So what is our next plan? We're gonna bring a guest on.
Yeah, next episode, next time we'll be on here. We'll be talking to someone else.
What are we thinking after?
After
Yeah,
the
after
holidays.
the holidays.
After the holidays? Yeah, no, that'd be great. Like I said, we have people that are ready to speak to us. I think a lot of people are interested in just getting their story out there, and if we can provide that platform, I think it's just going to be a great time for everyone to learn and grow.
And it's going to be diversified, so you guys don't have to listen to 5 mass maritime guys who all studied maritime business.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. We're just that business mindset to start this, and
exactly.
we hand it off to other people and let them speak for a little bit.
Yeah, we got a good thing going. I think we got a great show. We'll see.